Depending on the size of bed you have, we're either dealing with a 12-foot wide piece of duraskrim or even a 17-foot wide piece of duraskrim. So we headed outdoors just so we have enough space to work. So since we're doing an 8-foot long raft for our system, we want to make sure that we have over 2 feet for each end. So we've cut this duraskrim at 13 feet. You just want to measure carefully. That's why this is our second take. So I've measured out 2 feet here because that's half the distance of the width of the bed. 4-foot bed, we're going to measure at 2 foot. I'm going to do this on the other end and I'm going to do this on the other side, and then we're going to fold. And because this is symmetrical, you really can just flip this end up and mark it with your marker. This will not go inside the grow bed. I got my buddy James Dean with me because we're about to unfold the duraskrim and then fold it in and set a crease. And it just works a lot better if you have 2 people. Ready?
Ready.
All right, man. Now I'm marking the center point, which on this duraskrim is 6.5 feet. Then I'm going to measure 4 feet away from that center point on both sides, and we're going to do another fold. Depending on what type of bed system you're putting in, the way that you prep it may change a little bit, but the key things that we're trying to protect the liner against is rough abrasion and against sharp points. So any pieces of metal that had sharp points, we went ahead and put some tape on it. We have a felt liner down on top of the wood, and that just keeps the liner in place. We also added insulation just to keep the heat of the raft in. In this stage, you just start unfolding it. Just unfold it on the lines that you originally had and right over the side. Nice and simple and gentle. Once it's folded like this, you're looking to make a corner here. You want to think gift wrap. I'm shooting to start an angle that's going to go up about 4 inches in. So I'm just setting that point with my thumb. You want to lift it up and you're going to try to make a 90 here. And you do that by straightening out the other pieces and keep folding it in. One of the important parts of setting the liner in a raft is a radius, and to better explain that, we have JD Sawyer.
Howdy. So whenever we install liner in our raft systems, whether they're 4 foot or 8 foot wide, no matter the length, the really important concept of the radius is we maintain a little bit of a curve here going all the way up and down the side walls of the trough here. And what that does is that actually helps to force the water in, the water weight and pressure in and down, as opposed to if we were to just push this right straight into the corner here, then that's going to put excess water pressure on the sides of the trough. So that little radius curve on both sides here will actually help to concentrate more of the water weight down in the center of the trough. All right, so to get the correct radius curve, and it's a little bit of a homegrown method here, if you will, but all we're going to do is press down a little bit here, and we don't want the curve to come way out. We don't want the liner to stretch too far out, or that's going to actually pull the sides of the trough in. But what I like to do is just kind of get my hand in here and feel this bend right underneath my hand here, okay? And that allows me to have maybe a 3 or 4 inch curve before the liner touches the bottom of the plywood. Once we get that curve right where we want, and you may have to push down a little bit, you may even have to pull back a little bit to get it just right. But once you get it right there, then that's when we can move to the next step of clipping the liner down onto the rail. So once we've got that radius curve right where we want it here, then we can hold the liner to the top rail, and then we're going to put our liner clips on. And to start on the far corner here, just close to the edge here, and then you're going to have to apply some downward force, okay? And then just work this clip down like that, with a little bit of pressure on it, like that. And then that clips that liner in place, and then you can start the next one, butt that right up in the center there, and continue on to the far edge. Or far corner. Make sure you have that radius. Now if you haven't clipped the other side, you can still pull that liner in a little bit here anyway. Once we clip the opposite side, that's when we really want to make sure the radius is exactly where we want it. Okay, so on the end wall here, we still want a little bit of a radius, but not much, because we want this liner to go flat up against the board, so when we install the bulkhead over here, the liner's not stressing or pulling on the edge of the bulkhead. So I actually like to just force, the back side of my palm right down in here, almost until I'm flat against the board, and just kind of pull that liner down, so not really much of a radius curve at all. And once you get that where you want it, then you can go ahead and clip. Now clipping the liner over the end, this one's a little bit trickier because you got to clip over these folds. So you just, again, like we did before, just start from one end and put some downward pressure on it. It's going to hold this liner real tight. Now what's nice about this, there's no stapling. You're just really clipping this down just like that. Get it all the way into that corner there. And that's it.
Yeah, I'm just cutting the duraskrim. What I'm doing now is I'm just trying to pull it down as much as I can just to neaten it up. Structurally, this makes no difference. This is purely aesthetic.
All right, when we're ready now to cut the hole, we've already have that pre-drilled board here, so we just need to feel around, find where that little depression is in the liner here, and got to be careful with this part, right? So what I like to do is just find that center and just pop a hole, and then just go straight out to the edge of the hole like that, and just make a little cross pattern here, right? And just find that edge. Obviously be careful not to cut your finger. And remember, there's that felt back there, so there's 2 layers. There's the liner and the felt that you got to cut through. Okay, so now there's our hole, and then we can, this takes a little bit of time, but then we can carefully just kind of trim a little bit of that excess liner off. Just be real careful not to pull hard and score the liner, or you could be in trouble there. So we'll just keep going around here, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, on the back side here. So I'll finish that off, and then we'll install the bulkhead. Now that we've got our hole cut here, we're going to go ahead and install the bulkhead. Remember, we've got the rubber gasket here, so we want to keep that on the inside of the liner. So we can go ahead and just wiggle that through there like that. And then we'll come around the back side here and just kind of push in this liner a little bit, right? And then these are kind of funky bulkheads here, so it's a lefty tighty, righty loosey, so that can kind of throw you off a little bit. We call them Australian bulkheads, right? I can't hear all the laughs. That's, you know. All right, so we're just going to hand tighten that. You really don't need to put a wrench on it. Just hand tighten that, and you're all set.
So all I'm doing here is just kind of neatening it up, thinking more of like wrapping a present, trying to make straight lines. Not that it matters to the function of the bed. Again, this is purely aesthetic. And white duct tape is my friend. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just cutting it. I'm just starting to neaten it up, tuck it under, and that way this will look really good.